that?
Oh, you won't like this at all. It's a string.
It's just, where did you get that?
My daughter made it.
She did?
Yeah, Madison was making it. I said, I need that. And I got her to give it to me.
Oh my heck. Seriously? This is awesome.
Nobody in the family would ever call me romantic, I don't think. And I just kind of got overcome by this romantic bug. No self-respecting man would admit this stuff, but I kind of melted.
For more than a decade, viewers of Sister Wives watched as the Browns, a family of polygamists who professed harmony, faith, and love, unfolded their lives on television. Externally, it seemed as if the utopia was true. 4 wives and 1 husband, numerous children, all harmoniously working together. The reality was sinister, because underneath the smiles, underneath the constructed scenes, underneath the faith and family rhetoric, one wife was quietly unraveling. Her name was Christine Brown. Christine was presented to the fans as the fun wife, the one who maintained morale, the one who laughed the hardest, the one who gave her entire heart to her family. She believed in plural marriage more than anything else. She felt it was her mission, her purpose, her way of belonging. But year after year, that faith was put through its paces. Initially, Christine was content. She enjoyed the sisterhood. She enjoyed bringing up her children in a large, active family. She had believed Kody loved her as he loved all of his wives. But gradually, cracks began to show. Cracks that opened into huge, gaping wounds when Robyn came into the family. Christine later confessed, "When he married Robyn, that is when I realized something was missing." She wasn't dreaming it. She wasn't paranoid. She wasn't insecure. She saw it for herself. Kody's affection, his time, his attention, all the things went to Robyn. And while Robyn's position in the family expanded, Christine's position seemed to contract. It wasn't favoritism. It wasn't jealousy. It was betrayal. Because plural marriage was meant to be equal. Every wife adored. Every wife loved. Every wife valued. But that wasn't the reality for Christine. Her reality was sleepless nights. Nowhere. Togo conversations. Intimacy turned into an act. Christine herself described it. The sex was just an obligation. There was no real emotion behind it. No passion, no love. Tree living like that. Giving your prime years, having children, maintaining a home, and discovering the man you married doesn't view you as his partner anymore. Christine did her best to bear it. She reminded herself it was temporary, that Kody would look at her once more, that he would recall the woman who had been his for so long. But rather than improving, it worsened. Until one day, Christine requested it outright. "Are we ever going to be intimate again?" And Kody's response was heartbreaking, one word. No explanation. No comfort. No hesitation. Just, no. That response broke Christine. It wasn't intimate. It was about love, about respect, about worth. And in that instant, she realized she was no longer a wife. She was a burden. That perception didn't just sting. It dismantled the very basis of plural marriage for Christine. For how can a marriage endure when love isn't equal? How does plural marriage possibly work when one is selected and the others are left behind? This wasn't merely Christine's heartbreak. It was the start of the breakdown. Christine's heartbreak hadn't occurred overnight. It accumulated gradually. Every time, Kody spent more days at Robyn's place than hers. Every time holidays arrived and Christine felt shunned to the corner. Each time family choices seemed not really so much family choices, but choices made by Kody and Robyn. Christine started to feel what no plural marriage wife ever wants to feel. Invisible, she later admitted. "When Robyn joined the family, that is when I thought the fun went out. I felt like I wasn't important anymore." And the rest observed too. Janelle noticed the imbalance. Meri noticed the favoritism. But none of them said much. Because in plural marriage, jealousy is seen as weakness. You're supposed to accept your husband's choices, even when it hurts. But for Christine, the pain became too obvious to ignore. She wanted romance. She wanted affection. She wanted to feel chosen. But instead, she felt replaced. The betrayal wasn't emotional. It was physical, Christine confessed. Sex became just an act. No real emotion behind it, just an obligation. Consider that for a moment. To give your most intimate, vulnerable space to someone, and then discover it, is nothing. Christine didn't feel loved. She didn't feel wanted. She didn't even feel like a wife, and when she finally worked up the nerve to ask Kody if intimacy would ever be restored, his icy no wasn't just a rejection. It was a confirmation. Confirmation that she had been replaced. Confirmation that Robyn was the favorite. For Christine, that moment was betrayal in its absolute form. Not because intimacy is the only thing in a marriage, but because the refusal indicated that there was no effort remaining. No fight, no care, Christine explained. When he said no, I knew he wasn't interested in me at all. He wasn't going to attempt. He wasn't going to love me again. And suddenly it made sense. This wasn't only a failed marriage. This was the failure of plural marriage itself. Because plural marriage only succeeds if every wife feels special. Every wife feels loved. Every wife feels chosen. And Christine knew that in Kody's universe, only one wife was really the chosen one. Robyn. The others, Meri, Janelle, Christine, were living on scraps of attention. But for Christine, mere survival was no longer enough. She had invested so many years in believing in plural marriage. She had assured herself that it was about faith, about family, about something greater than herself. But what if the faith becomes isolation? What if the family becomes divisiveness, when something bigger doesn't ever include you at all? Christine knew she couldn't hide in the background any longer. And that is when the thought crossed her mind, perhaps it is time to walk away. When Christine initially started contemplating leaving, she didn't utter those words aloud, she kept it hidden. Because for years, Christine had been the believer, the one who stood up for plural marriage when those outside judged it. The one who reminded herself this was her calling, her destiny. To acknowledge that it was broken felt like betraying her marriage. But more than that, it felt like betraying her faith. Yet the signs were all around. Christine remembered sitting at family gatherings, seeing Kody take Robyn's hand, see him light up in her presence, see the way he listened when she talked, and then feel the difference when it was her turn. With Christine, he was preoccupied, chilly, sometimes even dismissive, she admitted. I felt used, like our intimacy was just an obligation. There was no love behind it. And when intimacy was gone entirely, Christine knew the truth. She was no longer a wife to Kody. Just a roommate, a caretaker, an afterthought. Christine hid her pain for years. She smiled on camera. She cooked for the family. She made her children a priority. But on the inside, she was breaking down. The break came when she knew her daughters could see it too. One of her kids posed the question, "Mom, why is Dad spending so much time at Robyn's house?" Christine was left speechless. This question cut deeper than any of Kody's rejections ever did. Because now her kids were seeing the inequality. They were seeing the favoritism. They were seeing their mother not being loved in the way she was worthy of. Christine went on to say later, "That is when I realized I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't present my kids with a marriage that didn't exist." Meanwhile, Kody was oblivious. Or perhaps he didn't wish to acknowledge what was taking place. He told Christine once, "I don't want to be intimate in a marriage where there is no trust, no loyalty, no respect." But Christine fired back with reality. How am I supposed to trust or respect someone who doesn't even love me? This was more than a fight between husband and wife. It was the breakdown of a system that was meant to keep the family intact. Plural marriage in theory guaranteed equality. But in reality, it was obvious to all, Kody's universe was centered on Robyn Meri. Trapped in isolation. Janelle pursuing independence, Christine cracking under the pressure of deception. Christine was aware that the cameras were rolling, the fans were watching, and the world thought the Brown family was still operational. But within her heart she had already taken the first step to walk away. She was finished being invisible. She was finished being unwanted. She was finished being betrayed. And though she hadn't spoken the words yet, Christine's silence had already grown louder than anything else. The collapse began. Christine's choice wasn't immediate. It was a withdrawal of steps, slow and deliberate. No one paid her any mind at first. She began staying to herself more. She ceased attempting to pursue Kody's attention. She ceased struggling for intimacy. Rather than holding on, Christine let go. She invested all her energy in her children, her friends, and most of all, herself. But while she quietly started letting go, the fissures in the Brown family grew harder to conceal. Meri sensed it too. She had already been living alone. Her relationship with Kody a friendship. If that, Meri and Christine were never close. But in Christine's silence, Meri sensed the same aloneness. Janelle saw it too. She was always the more independent one, the one who found solace in rituals and pragmatism. But she also noticed Christine's spark being extinguished. Christine, the fun wife, the one who had filled the air with laughter, wasn't laughing anymore. She was disappearing. Even Robyn, who had habitually kept her head down when there were tensions, could sense the change. Christine wasn't reaching out to her. She wasn't keeping her distance in secret. She wasn't even attempting to maintain the facade of sisterhood. Christine went on to admit, "It got to the point where I didn't want Kody in my house anymore. If he wasn't going to love me, why was he here?" But then, when she began to express her discontent, Kody didn't lean in. He didn't fight for her. He stepped back further instead. In a single devastating instant, Christine remembered how Kody had said to her, "I don't see us having a marriage anymore, not the kind you want." That was confirmation. The man she had lived with, brought children with, given up everything for, was finished. But rather than despair, Christine started to feel something different. Strength. She realized that she had waited years for Kody to decide on her, to love her, to notice her. And so she knew he never would. The betrayal was absolute. Not so much because he didn't give love, but because he gave it so indiscriminately to someone else. Robyn was more than another wife. She was the center, the special one. Plural marriage had devolved into something entirely different, a monogamous marriage with additions. Christine could no longer dwell in that shadow. So she began to prepare quietly, consistently. She started to envision life without Kody, life where she wasn't invisible, life where she wasn't betrayed. And step by step, she began taking steps toward that life. The choice wasn't simple. But after Christine saw the truth, there was no turning back. Because you can't unknow betrayal. You can't build on broken promises. And Christine knew. The end was near. Christine had held her silence long enough. The agony of betrayal, the burden of invisibility, the ongoing reminder that her marriage wasn't a marriage anymore. All of it was too much to bear, so one night, Christine at last spoke out of the silence. She gazed at Kody, the man she had thought was her forever partner, and uttered words that rocked their very world. "I don't want you in my bed anymore." That sentence was not just about intimacy. It was about it all, about the rejection that she had suffered, about the years of pretending to be okay, about the betrayal of being witness to Robyn being favored over her. Christine has since remembered. "I said to him, 'You are not sleeping here anymore. I don't want you in my bed. If you don't love me, then there is no point.'" For Kody, it was a shock. But rather than fighting for her, rather than begging her to stay, rather than showing the affection she had dreamed of, he shrugged. And Christine knew, in that instant, that his nonchalance was the ultimate proof of all she had previously realized. He did not love her. And he was not going to attempt to. The betrayal had existed for years. But now there was no doubt. Christine no longer observed a husband. She observed a man who had selected another wife, another life, another destiny. And even though it hurt her heart, it freed her too. Because if Kody wasn't going to love her, then Christine was allowed to love herself. The children complicated things, though. Christine was concerned about how leaving would impact them. She was concerned about what it would do to the family. She was concerned about how the world would perceive her, The wife who left Plural marriage, but staying would be living a lie. And Christine could no longer do that. She thought to herself, if I stay, I'll lose myself. And if I lose myself, what good am I to my children? So Christine made her decision. For the first time in years, she chose herself. Her departure wasn't loud. Not initially, it wasn't a dramatic confrontation. It was quiet, consistent, and firm. She started explaining to the children. She started quietly embracing her new life. But when the news finally came out to the remainder of the family, it wasn't only Christine's life that was altered. It was the whole Brown family. Meri, who was already alone, now had an even more solitary future ahead of her. Janelle, supportive but conflicted, understood things would never be the same. Robyn, the favorite wife, became increasingly at the center of Kody's universe and the focus of anger and Kody. He was shocked. Not that Christine left, but that she had the nerve to. Christine's taking a walk shattered the illusion of plural marriage. What was once touted as unity, faith, and love now stood revealed as favoritism, betrayal, and breakdown. Christine didn't simply leave a husband. She abandoned an entire system. And in doing so, she spoke out for every broken heart she had silently bore. Christine Brown's departure was not simply a wife walking out. It was the failure of the very ideal Kody had sworn to all four women. The failure of equality. The failure of trust. The failure of plural marriage. Christine once told us, I stayed as long as I could, but staying meant losing myself. Leaving meant saving myself. Her choice didn't only change her life. It changed the entire Brown family. Meri remained in silence, more alone than ever. Janelle saw her best friend walk away. Robyn became the axis of Kody's world, but also the axis of resentment. And Kody lost the wife who had believed in him most. The wife who had stood up for him. The wife who had created her universe around him. Fans around the world started wondering the same unsettling question. If Christine walked away, who is next? Because Christine walking away wasn't about betrayal. It was about survival. It was about being brave. It was about telling the truth finally that everyone had been denying. And now, the question hangs like a storm cloud over the Brown family. Will Christine's decision make the rest of them leave too? Or will Kody's world keep falling apart? Wife by wife, the end isn't near. It is just now beginning.